All right. So good evening to everyone. Good morning to Amar Zarif and Mr. Hafeez. I'm sorry to announce that three of my group mates cannot attend the meeting due to unforeseen circumstance. So to begin the interview, so Mr. Hafeez, could you please state your age and current occupation?
Yeah, my name is Hafeez. I'm a manager at the corporate planning department in Malaysia Marine and Heavy Engineering. And my age is I'm 45 years old.
Right. Zarif, next question.
Next question, Mr. Hafeez. Can you provide an overview of your role and responsibilities in your current job?
Okay, so basically what I do is I'm in corporate planning. So my job is to produce research and look at what is out there in terms of the prospects for the company in the next 5 to 7 years in the longer term. And also at the same time, pursue those opportunities right now. Bearing in mind that some of these opportunities might have a gestation period of more than 3 years, so not in the short term. So basically looking at the more long-term business opportunities for the company.
All right, for the third question, what is the main business or industry focus of your company?
So my company, Malaysia Marine and Heavy Engineering, basically is a public listed company. It's a company in the energy supply chain. But traditionally, it has been it has been in the oil and gas supply chain. But right now, people are talking about energy transition. So we are looking at the company in a more broader supply chain of the global energy supply chain. So what we do specifically, so that is broadly speaking. Yeah? So what we do is we are an energy contractor at this point of time. But again, traditionally, I've mentioned just now, it's a oil and gas contractor. In that, our specialty is to fabricate offshore oil and gas facilities. So that is number one. So that is our what we call our heavy engineering business. And so that is the first segment. The second segment is what we call the marine business, where we do repair and conversion of marine vessels. So you could imagine this second segment like a car workshop, but but for vessels and ships, because they will need to do repair and maintenance, right? So we have facilities in our yard in Pasir Gudang that caters to this, both of these segments. So for the offshore fabrication, we can do offshore fabrication facility, and then transfer it on board a vessel and transfer it to the offshore place. So offshore place, in the middle of the ocean, basically. So we have those facilities, and on the marine business side, we also have different sets of facilities, not so much on fabrication, but more towards dry docks. So dry docks are basically a place where the vessel can come into the land, and then we empty the water inside that place. So that's why it becomes a dry dock. So that caters for large vessels, and also we have facilities for smaller vessels and ships as well, which we call land berth. So these ships, because they are small, we can bring them up on the land and transfer them on board of this, like a rail track. So this is what we call the land berth, and we can do repair and maintenance on those vessels. Yeah, so I think looking at your previous questions, you might be interested in both of these segments, but maybe more towards the heavy engineering side, because that's more fabrication. Our marine side also, they have fabrication, but very minor fabrication that serves towards, the repair and maintenance of the vessels. So I hope this is clear. You see, this interview, if you don't understand anything, you can ask me, straight away lah. Okay.
Zarif, my
So
question.
that is what we do as a company.
Zarif,
Jelas.
ask the next question.
Dengar tak?
Tak apa. Let me ask. So could you describe the working system within your company, like the working hours, shift, or any unique aspects of the company?
Okay, so working wise, we have a normal 8 hours cycle. We don't normally have a double shift, so people don't work. Like some certain production or manufacturing facilities, they have 3 shifts, right? Because there are 3 shifts divided into 8 hours, and the manufacturing facilities work 24 hours a day. We don't have that in MMHE. We primarily, our work is basically during the day. So you start the work day at 8 o'clock, and then you have a break so that you can complete like 8 hours. So including the break, you can get off, like for example at 5 o'clock. And beyond that, if there is a need for you to go on, there will be overtime. So this applies to both the heavy engineering and the marine repair side. However, our marine repair side is now considering to go to do double shift. So, logically, if you work more, if you have more shifts, then you can complete the job faster. Because the critical thing in our marine repair, so you imagine sending your car to the workshop. You want the workshop to basically finish the work that is to be done on your car as fast as possible, right? So you don't want to basically, that's the same thing with our repair and maintenance for the marine side. So we want to complete the job as fast as possible, because these ships and these vessels, they are running a business, and their business is based on an owner that charters their vessel at a certain rate. So if your vessel or ship spends too much time in the dry dock, then it means a lost business for the ship owner. So our company wants to give the best time to complete the job in a shorter time as much as possible. So typically, if let's say if we take 3 weeks or 21 days to complete the repair and maintenance on the ship, then we want to reduce this 21 days to lesser number of days, maybe, if possible, 14 days or 17 days or 15 days, so that the ship can quickly go out back again into the sea and do its gain revenue for its owners. So that is basically the working time. So for the marine, I've mentioned just now, for the heavy engineering, it's the same working hour. We don't have any, double shift or 3 shifts. So it's just a normal daily working. And then on top of that, if required, then we have overtime.
All right. So could you explain more about the operation of fabrication managed within your company?
Okay, so basically what we do, okay, I just explained broadly, yeah. So if you can imagine, so I'm talking about the heavy engineering business. So you know what? So I mentioned just now, what do they fabricate, right? If you can recall, Shakir, what do they fabricate?
Your company.
What do they fabricate? I mentioned just now, what does my company fabricate in terms of the heavy engineering business?
Is it more to like oil and gas?
Yes, that's right. So basically oil and gas. So we fabricate these offshore platforms. So I mentioned just now. So that was the answer. Offshore platforms, right? So imagine these offshore platforms. You know, they are huge, right? So very big facilities, right?
Yep.
Maybe 20,000 tons or 30,000 tons of these huge steel platforms. So try to imagine that, how do you go about fabricating that kind of structure? So basically you need to start small, right? So what we do, we have if you go to our yard in Pasir Gudang, there are several workshops that basically builds this, components, builds the components of the offshore platform into, you can say, small modules, like Lego kan. You fabricate a small section in this workshop A. Let's say I have 10 workshops. So workshop A will do one section. Workshop B will do one section. Workshop C will do one section, and so on and so forth, right? So all these are fabricated individually. So all these different components are fabricated individually. And maybe some of the bigger components will be fabricated in a much larger workshop. We have what we call a mega workshop, which is very huge. So you can imagine like maybe 2 or 3 football fields, and very high. So this is, if you go to our yard, there's this one place that we call a mega workshop. 2 or 3 football fields and very high. very high ceiling. So this is where we fabricate and build a larger component of the offshore platform. So imagine all this, you have 10 different workshops, all fabricating different items, different sections of the platform. And then all this will come together. This because you need a large assembly area. So it's just an open space assembly area, whereby all these 10 components will come together and put. So imagine all this needs to do the kind of this very big structure. So that is why we call it heavy engineering. So you will need to have certain knowledge on how to do the lifting. You need to calculate, what is the safe amount of safe specification of the crane that needs to lift all these 10 or how many components together and put it and assemble it on a large field. And in this large field, we also have what we call a Goliath crane. That is the largest crane that can lift up to 500 tons or so. So all this involves very heavy lifting. So, and in order to do this, a lot of engineers are needed to do all the calculations needed to complete all these processes. But at the very elemental unit, you have people basically doing welding and fabrication. That's it. Because what you have is basically steel structures that are mostly they start as steel plates.
Mhm.
And then you have to form it into a tube or a pipe that will eventually become a structure on the offshore platform. So all this happens, inside these small workshops that is around the main assembly area, which has, I mentioned just now, the giant Goliath cranes.
I see.
So yeah, go on. You wanted to ask me a question?
Yeah. Can you elaborate more about the safety and health measures in place within the company to ensure a secure working environment?
Okay. Safety is paramount. So safety is very paramount in our line of work. What we do as a company is basically we've spent so much resources. So everything starts with the safety, health and safety department. And so this basically controls and gives safety training, instill the safety culture. So when we say the culture needs to permeate all throughout the company. Even each and everyone's KPI, we have this safety aspect inside our KPI. So like, for example, for me, even though I don't work in the field, I don't work at the yard, I also have a KPI that serves the safety in terms of having to go to trainings, and so basically it all starts with safety culture. And then each project will also have their safety supervisors that goes around and inspect, and try to be like, the police, looking at the potential hazards in terms of safety in the projects. Yeah. So in a nutshell, we do not take the issue of safety lightly. It has to run through because every little work that is being done there is basically a dangerous and hazardous thing. So that is why most of the time that culture of safety needs to be there, from the bottom right until to the CEO.
All right, for the last question, do you believe students should pursue their studies in engineering, and what advice would you give to those students?
Oh yes, most definitely. So basically, if I mean, I wanted to say if you as a person you are inclined towards uh, doing mathematics and interested in science, and you know you have this understanding, and you can, you know, you're interested in how things work. Yes, engineering is a good career to pursue. And I think for me, the advice is for you to try to get the hands-on, you know, experience, um, because I mean it depends on which line of career that you are going in certain situations. The practical part of the engineering work is important, but there are also engineers who never leave the computer. They, you know, in front, they just sit in front of the computer and do, you know, calculations and all that. So there are also people or engineers who are like that, who never leaves his desk, and never leaves his desk and, you know, do calculations, do design. But it depends on, you know, your interest as a person. But I think in general, all engineers should have a basic in design and calculation. Like I mentioned just now, in terms of our work in heavy engineering, you need to know, you need to calculate, you know, uh, what kind of equipment, or what kind of equipment that can stand, you know, this kind of weight, which cranes to use, you know, moments and all that. So yeah, but I think as a university student doing engineering at the moment, it's best for you to explore the various options, and look at, you know, like for example, if you have the opportunity to be interns in certain companies, I think that is the best. Talk to talk to other people who are engineers, and they might, you know, give you career advice.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Hafiz, for attending this interview. Would you mind if one of my friend asks maybe one or two more questions, extra questions about your work?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
All right, Akmal, we have 8 more minutes until the meeting ends, so make your question quick.
Okay, thank you, Shakir. First of all, Mr. Hafeez, thank you for giving me this opportunity to interview you. Now, for the first question, okay, I would like to ask, okay, so you said that your company in the heavy engineering part is to fabricate offshore facilities, right? Okay, so
Yep.
can I know, is your company in collaboration with another company for the fabrication process? Like, for example, when you want to fabricate the facilities, do you collaborate with another company to do some parts of it, or do you handle all of the parts in the fabrication process?
Yeah, very good question. Very good question. So I mentioned just now, these are very big, offshore platforms, right? There's no way one company can do
Yeah,
this on its own. Okay. So what we do sometimes, what can happen is that, if that platform or that offshore structure, can be broken down into two, right? Like for example, two sections, two mega sections, then it's worthwhile for you to consider another partner. So this partner might do it, somewhere else. For example, might do their section somewhere else, and we do ours in our section. And then what might happen is that these two sections will be sent separately to that offshore place that is going to be permanently located, and will be joined there lah, basically, or will be assembled together from two separate structures into one structure. So that can happen. So that one is more on the physical side, physical facility of things lah. But most commonly, what happens is that you might break down the whole project um, into what I would call, how I would say, so basically we do the construction or fabrication, and another party does the engineering. You get that? So basically, there'll be one party that does the design and engineering, and then that design engineering passes to us. We might want to do some more detailed engineering in terms of, because the partner might do the very concept, design, very concept, high level engineering, maybe, line diagrams, a process flow diagram. But when it comes to us, we have to do the more detail, like for example, how each section should be joined together. So we do some more engineering over there. When I say engineering, means, calculation, design lah. So basically what we call is, so we have an engineering partner. So that can happen, but also we have another mode. When we say partner just now, they are like an equal standing to us lah. But there's also another mode whereby we subcontract, means to say that we ask another party to do it, and we pay them. We pay them to do it. So that basically is a subcontractor, and the person who does that is a subcontractor. So remember I mentioned just now, inside the yard there might be 10 workshops, right? So imagine one of these workshop or one component is done externally, outside our yard, at a subcontractor's place. So that can also happen lah. So this is where, in short, basically you cannot do everything on your own lah. You as a company, because of the size of the project, you might not have every capability inside the company to do every little thing inside that offshore structure. almost always there will be something that will have outside people do it. Either we pay them or they become a partner whereby they will also get revenue from the eventual client. Okay, so basically that's it lah. That's a answer to your question just now, but it was a good question.
I'm sorry to
Okay, I
interrupt,
see. Thank you, sir.
but I'm going to create another link as this meeting is about to end. So
Okay.
I'm gonna create another link, then I'm gonna send it to you for a new meeting because this meeting is about to end. Like
Oh,
the
I see. So
yeah, the Zoom have
is there another question coming up?
yeah, just one more question. Last question.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
I
all right,
have
right.
a few more
Uh,
questions.
Yeah, just one.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Bang Pis.